Hey folks, thank you for coming today. Really appreciate your time and support. So just to build on the introduction from Lynn a little bit, I've been in business and industry for about 25 years. About half of that tenure has been in sales and sales management, leading sales teams in the pharmaceutical industry. And the other half of that tenure has been in human resources. And I've done everything from employee training, recruiting, administering employee benefits, you name it, I've done it in human resources as well. So I have a combination of business experience and HR experience, and I hope to bring all of that to the table today in my presentation to you. You all have the handouts in front of you. The handouts look just like the PowerPoint slides that you see listed, so you've got a reference tool that you can take away with you after this presentation is over. So what do we want to talk about today? You've probably been to a number of workshops that describe all the things you need to do in order to get a job, right? In terms of networking, in terms of interviewing, all those kinds of skills that you need to participate in order to land that job. So we're going to take it now one step beyond that. We're going to assume you got that first job. So maybe in the next couple of months you're out there interviewing. Maybe you start getting some job offers coming in, and if you're lucky enough, maybe you will be starting a new full-time position a couple of weeks after graduation. So in this economy, as we see on the slide, that's a huge milestone to celebrate. The economy is not the greatest. It's not good for new graduates. It's not good for middle-aged folks. So hopefully you're attending a lot of these workshops to learn all the things that you can do to help you land that first role. But now that you have gotten that first job and you've been through the new hire orientation, there are certain decisions that you have to make with regard to your employee benefits. Okay. So what are some of the things you need to think about and consider, particularly as a 20-something-year-old? Because being at this stage of life versus my stage of life and other stages of life, you may make benefit selections based on your age or where you are in terms of marital status, being a younger person. So we want to talk a little bit about that. We've got some objectives, or you have objectives in selecting those employee benefits. You want to protect yourself by enrolling in certain insurance coverages, but at the same time, you want to pick your benefits judiciously. You want to pick good benefits to get those protections, but you don't want to overspend and spend money on things that you may not really need as a younger person. That will help to increase your cash flow each month, so you can maximize cash coming back into your paycheck. But at the same time, you've got to think about the future, and you want to begin planning for retirement as a young person. So you'll also want to begin the savings process and how you can grow your personal finances over time. So lots of different things to think about as a new young worker entering an organization at this time. First thing I want to bring to your attention is that as you get hired by an organization, most companies provide to you what we call a summary plan description, SPD. And basically that's a big, thick benefits booklet. In the old days, you received those benefit booklets as a hard copy book. More and more, a lot of organizations are putting their benefits information online at a company website, a company intranet. Okay? So the SPD is your primary source of benefits information. It gives you plan features, details of your benefit plans. It's important to take a look at either the hard copy or the electronic version. Really become familiar with your plans. A lot of your questions can get answered just by perusing the SPD. Also, there'll be different times where you'll have to go to your benefits information more often than other times. If you're having a family status change, or perhaps you're getting married or having a child, the information becomes much more important. Or maybe a medical claim has been denied and you feel that the insurance company, your benefits carrier should have picked that up, so you might need to appeal the claim. So those are instances where you're really going to need to utilize the SPD. As I mentioned, in most cases people access this information electronically, but organizations are mandated to provide hard copy for anyone that requests it. So if you are one of those people that just like to feel of paper, your organization must make available to you hard copy benefit booklets. We're going to talk a little bit about all of these benefits today, benefit election considerations. We're going to start with the W-4 form. That's basically one of the first forms you fill out when you start a job. And then we're going to talk about all the different benefits plan by plan. Some of the things to think about, some of the recommendations in terms of coverages you should look at, things you can avoid right now, maybe coverages you can pick up later on. Everything from medical, dental, life insurance, disability. Assuming you get access to all of these programs, most large and medium-sized employers have these kinds of programs in place. Educational institutions, school districts, hospitals, in most cases you get a wide array of choices in terms of benefit programs. Long-term care, which may be a new plan for some of you. We'll talk a little bit about what long-term care is. Flexible or pre-tax spending accounts that I think people should really take advantage of, and I'll show you why a little bit later. Educational assistance. So a lot of you are graduating with your bachelor's degrees, maybe at some point want to go back to graduate school, maybe get an MBA or other kind of graduate degree, and most large and medium-sized companies offer tuition reimbursement. I think that's definitely something you should take a close look at and perhaps leverage once you start working full-time. We'll talk a little bit about savings plans, 401k and pension, and then other miscellaneous benefits. That's basically our roadmap for the workshop today. So W-4, Form W-4, this is a government tax form that is completed whenever you begin your first job. And these are completed so your employer can correctly withhold federal income taxes from your pay. So form, it's a little bit wordy, a little bit detailed. Some find it intimidating, but the most important section for all of you is what we call the personal allowances section. And here you determine the total number of allowances that you're claiming. And you have some flexibility here. So maybe you fill this out for some part-time jobs that you've had in high school or college. You have to claim allowances, and as a single person, you would claim anywhere from 0 to 2. As you fill out the W-4, there's actually a worksheet part that you answer certain questions, and based on the answers to those questions, it would determine how many dependents you can claim. And most young people starting out in the world of work would, as they fill out that worksheet, would end up with a total number of dependents anywhere from 0 to 2. And that's what you would claim as your allowances, 0, 1, or 2. Now you might say, well, what's the difference and which number should I pick? Basically the way it works is the lower the number of allowances, the more taxes are taken out of your paycheck. So if you're one of these people that want to use the W-4 as a way to save and a way to get a big reimbursement from Uncle Sam next year, you would claim 0. If, however, you would rather maximize most of the money in your paycheck each pay period, you would go with 1 or 2. And that way, by selecting allowances 1 or 2, you'll pay just enough taxes that you need to pay to the federal government throughout the course of the calendar year. And during next year's tax season, you won't get a refund, but you probably won't owe any money to the government either. So you need to think about what you want to do here. Most financial planners, financial analysts say it's better to pick an allowance of 1 or 2, get your appropriate taxes taken out each pay period, and then owe nothing to the government next year and not get a refund. Because when you select 0, the government is taking a lot of money out of your paychecks each pay period, and that's money that you can use. And they are taking that money, they're setting it aside, they're saving it over the course of the year, and they're earning interest on your money. And that's probably not the best strategy in terms of personal finances, cash flow, etc. So I would go with an allowance of 1 or 2, get the requisite taxes taken out each pay period, but you will not get a refund in the next calendar year. You should periodically take a look at your W-4 form and the allowances you're selecting to make sure that you're on target, that you have the appropriate number of allowances elected. As you get married and have children, you will be able to increase that to higher numbers. And that's something you'll want to review later on. Let's spend a few minutes talking about medical. And when you get your first job as a full-time regular employee, in most organizations you're entitled to healthcare coverage. And so you have different options. You have traditional indemnity plans, and those are reflected on the slide, best, better, and basic. with different levels of deductibles, different levels of co-pays. Deductibles are the amount of money you pay before your plan benefits kick in. Then once you reach that deductible, your plan would pick up, let's say, 80% of charges after the deductible. You would pay 20%, or 10 or 30, depending on the plan you select. Okay? You usually also have an HMO option or two that you can select and use, and some companies allow for an opt-out. Most companies today provide what we call flexible or cafeteria style benefits, and when you have a flexible benefits plan, companies give you credits. You can take a look at that second to last column. So everybody gets 100, and we're going with employee-only coverage. So we're not looking at married couples or family coverage. This is single only. As a single person, they're going to say, okay, we're going to give you $150 worth of credits that you can apply toward your medical plan. If you take a look at that best plan, the plan price, that's the amount your company is paying the health insurance carrier every month for you to have that coverage, is $225. So you're getting $150 worth of credits toward your medical. Your premium each month that you have to pay, your payroll deductions, is $75. That's only if you take that best plan with the lowest deductible and the smallest copay. If you want to look at some of the other options, the better the basic plans, higher deductibles, more in terms of copay that you'll have to pay out of your pocket once you meet those deductibles, but the plan prices are less expensive. So you get $150 worth of credit no matter what, but the plan prices go down because the plans are not as rich. They don't provide as comprehensive benefits as that best plan does. So your premiums go down each month. Instead of paying $75 a month, you're paying $50 a month or $25 a month. There's also usually an HMO option. Okay? You get credits toward the HMO option. In this case, the premium each month is $30. You have to pay $20 per co-visit, $20 co-payment per office visit. The thing you'll have to think about with HMOs is that in the traditional indemnity plans, those first three that we just mentioned, you can go to any doctor that you want. You don't need a referral. You can go to specialists right away if you like. You can go to the best doctors in New York City should you choose. Many times in an HMO, you're limited as to the types of providers you can go to. So you're paying less money for the HMO. You're oftentimes getting very good preventive care because HMOs will cover well checks and inoculations, sometimes items that the indemnity plans don't cover, but you may be limited in terms of who you can go to and see as your physician. So if you're going to select an HMO, that's fine. Make sure that the HMO has an out-of-network option. That if I should decide to go to the best doctors in New York City or Philadelphia or somewhere else in the country, you can go to them. Some HMOs allow for an out-of-network option. You'll pay more for that, others don't. Some companies allow you to opt out completely, but you'll have to prove that you have medical coverage through another party, typically a spouse. And if you have coverage through a spouse, you can decline your medical at your place of employment, and they'll provide you $50 worth of credits each month free of charge. And that's money that's actually going into your paycheck. Not every company offers an opt-out option, but some companies do. So again, what do you want to think about? Here, in terms of your medical, do you go with the traditional indemnity plan, or do you go with an HMO? Okay? If you decide to go with the traditional indemnity plans, you want to think a little bit about the level of plan that you want. Most young people are pretty healthy. They don't get sick that often, so you might be pretty good going with that basic option, which only costs you $25 a month out of your paycheck, but you do have a high deductible and a high copay. But for people in their 20s that usually only go to the doctor once or twice a year, maybe they have bronchitis and maybe one other visit throughout the year, that might be very cost effective for you. Because if you join that high plan, that best plan, you're paying $75 a month. At the end of the year, you paid probably $900 or so in premiums, and you're not utilizing much of that. You may have only gone to the doctor once or twice. That would have only cost you a couple of $100. Why take that best plan? You're probably better off as a young person in your 20s going with an HMO or that basic plan in the middle. Spend a little bit on that monthly premium, and then you're not really utilizing the plan all that much, and you're saving a lot of money in that annual premium. Let's spend a few minutes talking about dental plans. Similar setup as we saw with medical. Most companies provide a comprehensive plan that covers all kinds of dental services. They also provide a preventive plan which just covers cleanings and x-rays twice a year. And then other companies, other organizations offer what we call a dental HMO. Kind of like the same arrangement we see with the medical HMO. You must go to that 1 or 2 or 3 dental sites in the HMO. You must use their dentist. Okay. Oftentimes the dental HMOs are cheaper than the comprehensive or the indemnity dental plans that allow you to go to any dentist or orthodontist that you choose to. So again, same kinds of considerations that we saw under medical. You know, do I want to be able to see any dentist, oral surgeon, orthodontist that I want anywhere? If that's the case, you would go with a comprehensive or preventive option. If you're okay going to certain dental HMO centers and using their dentists and their orthodontists, then you go with dental HMO. And again, that will cost you $5 a month. Anytime you utilize a service, it's a $25 copay. Again, you have to think about freedom of choice versus saving money. What I suggest here under dental is that, you know, I would either go with the comprehensive plan or the dental HMO. I would avoid the preventive plan because the preventive plan only covers cleanings and x-rays twice a year. Let's say you have cavities, you need cavities filled, you need to get a tooth extracted. That would not be covered under a preventive plan, only under comprehensive. And you never know when something might come up. You know, God forbid you got into a car accident, lost a couple of teeth, or you're playing a pickup game of basketball and somebody elbows you in the mouth. Again, knocks a tooth loose. Even young people experience dental problems here and there, occasional cavities. So for the additional few bucks a month in a premium, I would say it's worth going with that comprehensive dental option, or again, the dental HMO. As we see in this example, like we saw with medical, you have an opt-out option. So if you have coverage, dental coverage, let's say through a spouse, you can opt out and get $5 a month back in your paycheck. So that's basically all on dental. Let's talk a little bit about life insurance. Companies offer a whole array of life insurance programs for their workers, employer-paid term life. Usually a company provides you life insurance, anywhere from 1 to 5 times your pay. I've seen some companies provide 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times your pay. Normally what a company does is they will provide you a certain level of coverage free of charge. So you can get 1 or 2 times your pay, free of charge, it costs you nothing. Anything above 1 or 2 times your pay, you'll have to pay some premiums for that each month. A couple of things to think about under employer-paid term life insurance. As young people, you don't have a big need for a lot of life insurance. God forbid something happened to you, you want to leave some funds to your parents, your next of kin, so that they can pay your funeral and burial costs. So I would say that 1 times your pay, if you're getting a first job and 1 times your pay is $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, that is more than ample coverage for you. That's more than ample monies that your parents would need, your next of kin, to pay for your funeral and burial expenses. Most parents are not looking to make a lot of money off a child's death. So I would say 1 times pay, 2 times pay is more than adequate for a young single person. Now later on, as you look to get married, particularly when you have children, those are the times you'll want to take a look at your life insurance coverages and pick up additional coverages. And what's nice about life insurance in most organizations, you can pick up an additional multiple of your pay of life insurance each year, and you don't have to provide evidence of insurability. So let's say in the last few years you were given a dreaded diagnosis of some sort, it may preclude you from getting additional life insurance coverages. However, with the way flexible benefits works, you can pick up an additional multiple of insurance each year without proving that you're in good health. So I would probably go that route with the life insurance. Just take the basic that you need to take, usually free of charge, and then additional coverages later on once you get married and have kids, if that's the route you're going to take. The other thing that I'll mention about life insurance is that if you decide to take additional life insurance coverages later on, Most organizations, they provide these coverages at very good group rates. You get very good, inexpensive group rates through an organization. So that's always the first place you want to look to get your insurance coverages. You can look to outside plans. You can contact local insurance agents where you live and get similar coverages, but they tend to be more expensive. So anything you can pick up through your employer is recommended. Other life insurance programs that you can look at, again, some of these come with you as being a regular full-time employee. You don't need to enroll, you don't need to pay for them, you get them automatically. Some are optional. Dependent life insurance for a spouse or children. You can usually pick up to 1 times your pay. For a spouse, you pay a premium for that each month. Child life insurance, you can pick up at increments of $5,000 or $10,000 in total, just enough to help out with burial costs. Many companies also provide accidental death and dismemberment. If you were to die in some kind of accident, typically a car accident, you would then get additional life insurance paid to your beneficiary because you died by way of an accident. Some companies also have dismemberment insurance, so if you lose an eye, you lose a limb, you might get a lump sum payment of $25,000 or $50,000. Okay? Sometimes accidental death and dismemberment is automatic, sometimes it's optional. You have to check your summary plan description for your company. Business travel accident, some companies provide additional life insurance to you if you die while traveling on company business. So that's additional monies that your primary beneficiary would get. You get that free of charge. Commuting to work doesn't count. So it's only if you're going on a business trip. If you're driving to work in the morning and God forbid die in a car accident, you don't get business travel accident. You only get that if you pass away while you're on a business trip. Survivor income benefits are additional life insurances that you can pick up for your beneficiaries. Rather than getting a lump sum benefit, that would provide continuing income, usually around 25% of your pay indefinitely until your spouse decided to get remarried, at which point then they would then lose the survivor income benefits. And then group universal life plans, also known as GULPs. These are plans that companies are starting to offer now, and they're combinations of life insurance coverages and savings plans. So you can take a look at that and get the best of both worlds. You can get some insurance money or insurance benefits should you need it for your beneficiaries, and there's a savings vehicle to that that allows the plan to accumulate some cash for you as well. This is just a slide that says who needs life insurance and who doesn't. And we're not going to really go through this, but people that generally don't need life insurance are single people with no dependents. And many of you fall into that category. As I just stated on the prior slide, go with the minimal amount that your company provides free of charge. You can always add more later on once you get married and have kids. Just as an aside, later on, if you get married and have children and you're the primary breadwinner for your family and you've got a stay-at-home spouse with kids, and let's say you're really concerned about them and want to leave them in a good position should you pass away at some point, the financial planners recommend that the general rule of thumb, if you want to leave a nice nest egg for that spouse so that maybe he or she never has to go back to work again, it's anywhere from 5 to 10 times your annual salary. But again, that's something you can look at and review much later on as your life changes and you get married and have a family. Time off and disability. Most companies today, most organizations provide what we call paid time off banks, PTO. So basically the way this works is once you start with a company, let's say you're starting on January 1st, you accrue 2 PTO days each month. So that over the course of the calendar year, you've accrued 24 days off. You can use those days off any way you like. Personal, illness, vacation, funeral, emergency. You use those days as you need to use them throughout the year. But once you utilize your whole bank of days, any time you take off after that is unpaid. Okay? You usually get that as part of your employment. That's nothing you need to pay for. Some companies allow you to buy additional vacation days should you need them, but in most cases what the company provides you is usually more than adequate. You also get, with many organizations, disability coverages, short and long-term disability. So if you become ill or injured and can't work for a while, you get some level of pay from your organization. Many times it's 100% of pay for 4 weeks, and then the pay gets reduced to maybe 2/3 of your pay once you're well enough to return to work. If you've been out for 26 weeks, you'll move to what we call long-term disability, and you'll continue to get, let's say, 2/3 or half of your pay indefinitely until you're medically cleared to return to work. Again, most of the coverages that we see on the slide, in fact, all of them are usually provided free of charge by your employer. Your time off, short-term disability, long-term disability. Sometimes a company will give you the opportunity to purchase an enhanced short-term disability program. Not sure you need that, particularly as a single person. That's something maybe to take a look at later on once you get married and have kids and others are relying on your income for their sustenance. Long-term care, this is an interesting benefit. You may not be familiar with this. Long-term care provides financial protection in the event that you, or a spouse or a parent, this is the only benefit program you have at work where a parent can enroll, needs to be enrolled in a nursing home at some point in their lives, or maybe will require some at-home care. So you can select different plan options, anywhere from $40, $80, $120 a day toward the cost of nursing home or long-term care. Basically, you might say to yourself, how does the insurance carrier determine whether you need this coverage or not? They'll ask the question and they'll come in and do an assessment. Can you perform what we call activities of daily living, ADLs? Can you get out of bed? Can you move from one location to another? Can you wash yourself? Can you get dressed? Can you toilet by yourself? If the answers to all those questions are no, then you are eligible for the long-term care benefit, and if you, a spouse or a parent, needs to be enrolled in a nursing home, they would pay $40, $60, $80, $100 a day for that coverage. The thing to think about with long-term care is this kind of coverage is inexpensive as a young person. So this is coverage that you can enroll in as someone who might be 23, 25 years old, and it might cost you $10, $15, $20 a month. The beauty of long-term care and the beauty of enrolling in this coverage as a young person is that whatever age you are when you enroll, whatever premium you pay that across your lifetime. It doesn't go up. So if you enroll in long-term care as a young person and you pay $15 a month, you will pay that rate for the rest of your life. And so long-term care is a nice, easy benefit to enroll in, and the costs are very manageable as a young person. So it's something I would take a look at because you can lock into some very inexpensive rates. There's always a concern later on, if I need to be put in a nursing home or a spouse, will I have the savings to cover that? Will Social Security kick in and pay for some of that? Not usually. Medicaid, you know, a lot of these government programs for pension and medical, we don't know if they're going to exist in 20, 30, 50 years. So it's good to plan for some of these things yourself. So I would definitely enroll in long-term care, even if it's a $40 a day option. You can lock into some inexpensive rates as a young person. If you try picking this coverage up as a 40 or 50-year-old, it might cost you $200 a month or $300 a month. And it becomes cost prohibitive as a middle-aged person. So I would get into this program as a young person if your organization offers it to you. Pre-tax savings accounts. So what are these? These are accounts that you set up. You set them up. You pay for these accounts with your own pre-tax dollars. And every pay period, the company takes out pre-tax dollars and puts these monies in accounts set aside for you. There's two types of accounts: a healthcare account for healthcare expenses your medical plan doesn't cover, or dependent care expenses if you're using daycare. And so you might say, well, what's the benefit of using this kind of plan? Let's say you're somebody earning $30,000. You have the option of not opening the account or opening the account. If you open the account, that's the right-hand column, you set aside $1,000 in that account. You're not putting it into the account as a lump sum, but your company takes that $1,000, they divide it by the number of pay periods throughout the year, and they make payroll deductions. Let's say it's $100 a month, $50 a pay period. that keeps going into the account. What it's doing is it's reducing your taxable income. So rather than paying taxes on $30,000, you're paying taxes on $29,000. So your taxes, assuming a 25% rate, are $7,250 as opposed to $7,500. Your remaining spendable income is $21,750 as opposed to $22,500. Now, on that left-hand column, you have to now use after-tax money to pay your health care expenses. You have to pay your $1,000 at that point. Remaining spendable income is $21,500 versus $21,750. So by opening up that health care pre-tax spending account, setting that $1,000 aside, paying for those coverages on a pre-tax basis, you save yourself $250. So you might say, what would I set aside money for with a pre-tax account? You would probably want to set aside money toward your deductible. Let's say your deductible is $500. Put $500 worth of pre-tax money in the account so you can cover your deductible and get that money back. And let's say you're an eyeglass wearer, contact lens wearer. Maybe set aside a few $100s in the account to pay for eyeglasses and contact lenses, which many medical plans don't cover. So for a young single person, you're probably looking at opening up an account with maybe $750. Set it aside pre-tax, and at the end of the year, you've saved yourself a couple $100s in terms of tax savings. It's always better to pay for things on a pre-tax basis versus after-tax. The government allows us to do this, so why not take advantage of it? And again, you can open up two separate accounts, one for health expenses, your medical plan's not covered, or daycare expenses, a dependent care account. We know how expensive daycare is. You could put aside, let's say, up to $5,000 in that account and pay for your daycare on a pre-tax basis. Educational assistance, I mentioned this at the beginning of the workshop today. Most companies provide, God bless you, large and medium-sized employers provide tuition assistance, tuition reimbursement. You can usually get tax-free assistance for undergraduate expenses up to $5,250. This is excluded from your annual income. Now this wouldn't apply to you too much since you're getting your undergraduate degrees now as full-time students. You can also take advantage of a tuition reimbursement program at the graduate level, but graduate tuition is fully taxable. So let's say you're taking a couple of graduate classes, you're spending $5,000. So you spend that money out of pocket, you file the reimbursement with your company at the end of the semester, you want to get that $5,000 back. Well, what's going to happen is the company wants to give you that $5,000, but Uncle Sam wants its cut, wants its portion. So 25%, 30% will be taken out as taxes. Instead of getting the $5,000 reimbursement, you're maybe getting $3,000 or $3,500 back. But even in spite of the tax implications, it's still a great program to take advantage of because you can get your organization to pay for a graduate degree, and rather than it costing you 100% in terms of tuition and books and that kind of thing, it's going to cost you roughly 25%. The other 75% or so is being picked up by your company. 25% is being pulled from the federal government in terms of the taxes that it wants out of that. So a graduate degree that normally might cost you 100% of your own money is only going to cost you 25%. It's definitely worth looking at and taking advantage of. If you're going to go for a graduate degree, go for it while you're working full-time and get your organization to pay for it, reimburse you. And now it's going to take a little longer because you're going at night and you're doing it part-time, but that's okay. For most younger people, there's no gun to your head. If it takes you 3, 4, 5 years to get that graduate degree, then so be it. You'll get that degree and then you can leverage it back in the job market again. Some rules to consider. Most firms have an annual maximum that they'll pay out, so just be aware of the rules around your company's plan. A lot of times reimbursement is based on the grade you get in the course, and sometimes they will do the reimbursement based on the grade. So A gets 100% reimbursement, B gets 75% reimbursement, C gets 50% reimbursement, so it's important to maintain good grades. Many times you'll have to, companies will reimburse you your tuition, but they'll say, once you're done with the degree, you have to stay with our employment at least another year or two before you can take off and leave. So just understand the rules around that. Once you're finished with the degree, you might be required to stay with your company another year or 2 or 3. Some companies don't have any rules around that. You could leave right away. Others will say you need to stick around for 2 years, and if you don't, you have to pay some of the tuition back. And then ensure your organization covers online degrees and executive MBAs, because some companies don't cover every kind of degree. Do the homework and find out, for the program you want to take, will your company reimburse you? Find that out up front. So let's talk a little bit about savings plans. Any kind of savings plan at the workplace is called the defined contribution plan. So this is money that you're taking out of your paycheck each pay period, and you're setting aside, you're saving for retirement. You can save on a pre-tax or an after-tax basis. The IRS maximum for 2011 is $16,500 that you can set aside over the course of the year to start saving toward your retirement. So these are plans I would definitely take advantage of, okay, because most companies provide some kind of company match. For every dollar you're putting in of your own money, your company will match that with 25 cents, 50 cents, 75 cents, sometimes a dollar for dollar match. So think about it. For every dollar you're putting in, if your company has a company match of 50 cents, you're earning a 50% return on your money right off the bat. And that's before you even take a look at the investment vehicle the money's being put in, and you'll be earning additional rates of interest. Okay? Most companies provide a company match up to a certain maximum. A lot of times anywhere from 4 to 6% of your pay. So I would definitely enroll in your savings plan, enroll in that pre-tax portion of the plan, and save whatever the maximum is that allows you to maximize that company match. Okay? Even beyond the company match, I would put in as much money as you can. As a young person, maybe you don't have a lot of expenses, maybe you're living at home for a while, so I would max out and put as much money as you can into the savings plan and let that money grow. Because as we said before, we're not sure about Social Security. We don't know what's going to be available to all of us when we go to retire. Is the program going to be solvent? So you have to put in your head that the program's not going to be solvent. You're going to need your own savings to help you live through retirement. The more you save now as a young person, and the longer the money's in these programs, and the money might be in there for 30, 40, 50 years, the money grows exponentially. So if you start putting in a lot of money as a young person, by the time you go to retire, it's not inconceivable that you can have $500,000 in your 401k plan, $700,000, $800,000. Some people have $1 million set aside by the time they retire, because they really did a lot of good savings as a young person. I mentioned the company match. You'll get 50 cents on the dollar, whatever that match is, and then you get to pick what kinds of investment vehicles you want to put your money into. Most financial planners recommend you look at some stock mutual funds. Over the long term, the stock market, stock investment vehicles seem to earn the highest rates of return and interest. I know we've seen a lot of troughs with that in the last several years, but if you're looking at a 30, 40, 50-year time horizon, the stock market really does better than all other investment vehicles. So you probably want to look at some aggressive growth stock funds to put your money in, and your company will help you with that in terms of presenting you with the options and helping to guide you. It's a little bit risky, but chances are you're going to earn high rewards and maximize savings by the time you retire. Along with these savings plans, you can take out withdrawals should you need to withdraw money on an emergency basis. There are some tax implications around that, particularly on a pre-tax plan, so be aware of that. And then there are loan features as well. So you can take out loans on your own account. You need to buy a car, purchase a home, and then you pay the loan back through payroll deductions, and those monies go right back into your account. So that's an option for you should you need to get access to money, withdrawal, loan features. Keep in mind though, any money you're pulling out as a withdrawal or a loan, that's money that's not in there earning interest anymore. So just use your plans judiciously for loans and withdrawals. These plans are skyrocketing. Most organizations offer these kinds of plans today for their workers as the primary vehicle towards saving for retirement. Defined benefit plans, I don't want to spend a lot of time here. These are your traditional pension plans that maybe many of your dads and grandfathers and others had when they worked. These were fully funded by their organizations. So if you put in a lot of years and you were earning certain levels of salary, based on certain formulas that you can see on the slide there, you might end up with a monthly pension benefit of $2,000 or $3,000 a month, fully funded by your organization. These were great plans in their day. Many companies are not offering their plans anymore. They're just not offering them because they became too expensive. They started these plans, they had so many people retire, they couldn't meet the pension obligations for their retirees. So a lot of companies have pulled out of these plans. They don't really exist. You might be lucky and get one if you work for certain Fortune 500 companies, if you get a government job. School teachers still have these as options, but more and more people don't have these plans as options anymore, so it's not really something that you can rely on. Your better bet, if you jump back, is to go to the defined contribution plans, savings plans, 401ks, and save your money that way. If you're lucky enough to get into a defined benefit plan, that's terrific. Most people don't have access to them anymore today. Other benefit plans and services to think about. So we talked about all the major benefit plans that would be available to you at work. Other plans and services that you can take a look at. Companies offer financial planning as an option that you can enroll in. And you enroll in that option and you answer a lot of questions on an online inventory, and the inventory will spit out a financial plan based on the answers to your questions and your financial needs. You also have access to financial planners that you can call throughout the year. Similar situation for the prepaid legal services. You can enroll in that and get access to lawyers throughout a year, and they will also put together a will for you should you need a will. Identity theft services are becoming very popular now. You enroll in these kinds of services and you get updates from all the credit bureaus to make sure your credit always looks okay and nobody's trying to steal your identity. Mortgage assistance is a program you can enroll in. If God forbid something happens to you, you can no longer work. This is an insurance program that would pay off your mortgage. Credit unions are offered by many companies, many organizations. Many people swear by them. So instead of having all your bank accounts at a local community or savings bank, if your company offers a credit union, you can offer or have your accounts through the company credit union or the credit union that's at your work site. And from what I understand, you get very good service and you get pretty good interest rates, and you can get favorable rates on loans and other kinds of things you might need from the credit union. So it's something to take a look at. Adoption assistance. Many companies today, large and medium-sized employers, will reimburse you for adoption expenses should you decide to adopt a child. That's something you should take a look at. Many single people today sometimes opt not to get married or have kids, but they have pets. A lot of people have pets today and are pet crazy. And I'm one of those crazy pet people. I have a dog, Chase, that's my buddy. So some people opt to get pet insurance. Okay? And so that's something to think about. Some experts say get pet insurance. Some say it's a little bit expensive. You're just better off paying the veterinary bill when you get it with cash. That's something, though, that many companies are making available to workers today. Personal convenience benefits. We see this kind of benefit usually through a large employer or a hospital. This is, and I worked at Bristol Myers Squibb for many years. If you go down into the basement of many of the buildings at Bristol Myers Squibb, they almost have what we call a Main Street USA. So you go into the basement, you go down Main Street, and you get access to a deli, a hair salon, a post office, a bank, a dry cleaner. And it's like a little series of shops in the basement of the building where you can go and utilize all kinds of services throughout the course of the workday or during your lunch hour. And the nice thing about that is usually those services are less expensive than you can get on the outside, and very convenient. You don't have to leave during the lunch hour. And then companies offer wellness programs like fitness centers, smoking cessation, weight loss. Those usually provided free of charge. Those are programs I would definitely take a look at and use. With the flexible benefits plan, we have a period every year called open enrollment, usually in October, November, where you can make changes to your benefit elections. So that's something you should take a look at every year. Don't procrastinate, don't put that off. The deadlines come up quick. Has anything changed in your life over the past year? Have you gotten married? Have you had a child? Are you getting divorced? Has anyone passed away? Fill out your forms with your partner or spouse. Assess your general state of health. Are you going to have surgery in the following year? So maybe you go for a better medical plan in 2012 because you know you're going to have some planned surgery, or you're going to purchase those eyeglasses you keep putting on. So maybe you move up and take a better medical plan. Enroll in those pre-tax spending accounts, as I mentioned earlier. Always pay for expenses that you can on a pre-tax basis. Consider additional life insurance and disability coverages later on in your career. Look at the long-term care plan, the plan for financial protection in case you need to be put in a nursing home. Enroll in that as a young person and lock into those less expensive rates. And try and maximize all the savings that you can in your 401k savings plan. This is just a final slide to kind of wrap things up. We're not going to spend a lot of time here. We've spent a lot of time talking about employee benefits. What are some judicious choices for all of you as a young person? How can you maximize savings? Some critical success factors early on at work. Make sure you focus on that relationship with your boss. He or she's often the key to your success in the workplace, so really focus on some of his or her hot button issues. And you're there to help your boss succeed. So ask that question. Boss, how do I help you succeed here? And do all you can to make that happen. Work hard and fast for the first few years of employment. Master your job tasks really well. Work the overtime as a young person. Make yourself visible at work. And suddenly toot your own horn. Make sure you get proper credit for some of the things you're working on at work so people recognize you and the value that you bring to your organizations. Develop organizational savvy quickly. Learn who are the important players at work. If you need to get things done through other people, who should you be going to? Who are the politically important people? Focus on workplace relationships. Always work on staying on everybody's good side. Don't anger people, don't upset people. But try and be friendly or friends with everybody in the organization. Watch your words and behaviors. Don't wear your emotions on your sleeve. If you've got a temper, keep it in check. Keep your anger, your upset, your impatience inside yourself. Nobody wants to see that. And if they start seeing that a lot, you will be branded as someone who's very negative, very angry, and very aggressive. And that can make your careers come to a screeching halt. And don't overshare too much with people at work. Do some sharing. Make connections with people, build bridges, but not too much sharing. They don't need to know every personal detail of your outside life. Be aware of communications etiquette. Use technologies at work, but don't overuse them. You don't want to be emailing everybody everything. Sometimes a phone call or seeing somebody in person is a better choice. And don't write and send emails when you're upset. I learned that early in my career. I sent an emotional email to someone in our IT department very early in my career, and that came back to bite me. I learned a hard lesson. Don't make that same mistake. If you're upset, maybe you can type up the email, but don't send it. File it. Be very careful with your emotions in your emails. Understand your company culture. What does it take to be successful here at work? Ask those kinds of questions and make sure you live the values of your organization. And manage your expectations. If you're getting a job as an undergrad and getting a job in May or June, don't think you're going to get promoted within the first few months. That may take a year or 2 or 3. So be patient in terms of what you're doing at work and how long it might take to get that promotion, within reason. Okay, but try and just be patient. If you're a good worker and you're valuable, you're doing great work, you will get that promotion you're looking for. So that about wraps it up. I will take questions if there are questions from the audience. I wish you all the best as you go through the job hunt, as you land those first jobs. Be smart in making your first series of benefit elections. Take advantage of solid benefit offerings that your organizations are providing to you, but don't overpay. Be judicious, maximize savings, and at the same time, try and maximize your cash flow as well. And only enroll in benefits you're really going to need and use as a young person in your 20s. So folks, thank you very much for coming. I hope this was informative and interesting, and I wish you all the best as you look for jobs. Thank you.